Continuing on with some more causes of common security problems, your anti-malware configuration, of course, is something that you also always need to keep on top of. And again, this includes all things such as antivirus, anti-spam, anti-spyware, whatever it might be. And with all of them, the main thing is really just ensuring automatic updating and regular scans so that they don't get disabled. And, that's one of the more common points of attack. If somebody is trying to get something in there that might be detected as such, one of the first things they might try to do is simply to disable the product itself. So always something you need to keep on top of there. Now, with local and or group policies in a Windows environment, ensuring that the appropriate policies are in place is critical to mitigate some of these issues. In almost all cases, policies are used to control and restrict the desktop environment so that users simply cannot corrupt software or make configuration changes that will result in problems with the system. But if they aren't receiving the policies, then clearly they're going to be able to do those things. So you need to make sure that your configuration is correct there and that the policies are coming down and that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing to prevent users from being able to corrupt their systems, either maliciously or unintentionally. In most cases, it is something that's unintentional, but regardless of how it happens, policies are meant to prevent it from happening. So you just want to make sure that they are in place. The firewall rules and any kind of misconfigured permissions, again, really comes down to that principle of least access, which is always just take the minimum approach. Only the sufficient permissions, nothing beyond that. So when it comes to firewalls, it's the rules themselves. Who's able to configure the rules? Who's able to change the rules? Who can implement the packet filtering and the access control lists to any given rule? Now, just quickly coming back to the policies, in most cases, if you're going to implement at least the Windows firewall, that can be entirely configured with a policy, and then the user cannot make any changes. So at least you know that there's certain levels of control within the firewall configuration as well, because users cannot circumvent the rules that you've implemented. But there may be other users who do have somewhat elevated permissions, and maybe they can make changes. So, again, it's always a matter of knowing who can do what. And as far as misconfigured permissions go, you just want to make sure that you don't grant users more than the minimum sufficient permission so that they can do what they need to do, but nothing beyond that. Now, when it comes to virus infection, as mentioned earlier, you just need to make sure that the appropriate protection is there and that it is regularly updating and performing the scans. But when it does come to viruses, if you have been infected, again, a lot of them, the first thing they'll do is try to shut the antivirus down. So if you find that you can't restart it and maybe you've tried several times, it just simply won't start or it won't update, that's usually one of the good signs that you have been infected. So it can be difficult at that point to remove that and run it down because it simply won't start the antivirus program. In a lot of cases, it could mean a complete uninstall or reinstall of both the antivirus software or possibly even the entire operating system as well, depending on how severe it is. A lot of them also have the ability to report rogue processes or services. Now, knowing that it's rogue can be a bit of a challenge. There's a number of applications that you can run that says, here are the processes and services that are running. But it's, ultimately up to you to be able to identify which ones are valid, which ones are not. So it might take a bit of investigation, but some applications are better than others at reporting what this process is and whether or not it should be running. So again, there's a number of applications you can get, but ultimately it comes down to you knowing what should be there and what should not. And obviously we want to make sure that the ones that we do want continue to run, and the ones we don't want don't run at all. So again, always keep on top of those kinds of things.